One. Welcome in, everybody. This is Major Push Wrestling, episode 2. I am joined by the returning Sonny and our new member, Tom. Welcome in, guys. Sonny, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good. I've been excited all week to get back on here and do this. So I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And Tom, how you feeling today?
Bro, Cloud9. This is the first time I'm on any podcast, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolute pleasure. So, guys, we're going to get right into it here. The first topic I'd like to hear your thoughts on are we had Raw after Mania. It has been lackluster in previous years, but it was an absolute banger of an episode this year. And then we had the SmackDown after Mania, which you could almost argue was even better. And then weekend hit, and then we got whatever Monday Night Raw was this last Monday. We've talked about it in the other videos that I'm on, but it did feel like something was weird about it, right? We had Sami Zayn make a tease for turning on Jay, and then he comes out against Rollins. Like it feels like every person who's in it with Jay, all of a sudden on the next show or the next night, they're doing the opposite of that. So it feels odd. We had Travis Scott partying with Jey Uso, and then he's attacking Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So we've got Sami Zayn. When his music hit, I was like, for why? They did a good job though, playing back to it throughout the night, right? When you have 3 hours, you should probably use some of your bigger stars in multiple segments. The fact that they didn't let Paul Heyman speak in the opening segment, I was like, if they go all night without letting Heyman speak, like I don't know anymore. So I want to hear what you guys thought. You could talk about SmackDown being great. You could talk about what you thought about Raw. We'll throw it over to Sonny.
I think that I'm still a little I'm confused about what's going on with the Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker alliance. I understand Paul with Braun. He's this unstoppable force, and he needs somebody, even in kayfabe wise, he needs this person to represent him and help him move up the WWE corporate ladder so that he can then position himself for bigger paydays, better opportunities, maybe a title shot here in the future. But I don't get what he brings with Rollins. If you go just strictly, I guess wrestling logic, you put a mouthpiece with somebody who can't really talk. But you got a guy like Seth Rollins, who obviously has been doing this for years, very good on the mic. And then, like you said, Heyman's sitting there in the background, almost like a wasted position there. So I don't know really what Heyman does for Rollins. And that's the piece that I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, what is the big key? What is the true was the favor him turning on Reigns and Punk that night for him to get the win on that in the triple threat? Was that the only favor, or are they? Is there something further on down the line that is going to be the big favor that Paul is going to return for Seth? Other than that, I mean, I it's a little incohesive for me. I don't know what the next play is, and with the whole thing with Sammy coming out, and I guess the emotional connection of this battle in Sammy's mind of, do I go to SmackDown? Do I stay here? Do I face Braun? I don't get it. I don't get why Sammy's having such an issue. I mean, this is a guy who faced Roman Reigns in, what was it, the Elimination Chamber last year? Was it Elimination Chamber money? I forgot which PLE it was, but faced Roman Reigns, went head to head with the most dominant champion that we've seen in years, and now he's worried, like scared, almost ready to run away from a fight with Braun Breaker. It just doesn't. I'm missing. There's just little things missing that I feel would make this more cohesive. It's just like you said. It's just kind of a little out of sorts. It's just not hitting.
And that's probably the best way to describe it. It's just not hitting. You mentioned Seth Rollins. He's so good on the mic. In fact, he's got people cheering him over Roman Reigns. He's got people booing CM Punk. He almost had to pivot because nobody's trying to chanting his name on Monday Night Raw. That was the first kind of, this is off. Tom, Thank you so much for joining us, bud. What do you think?
So at first, my mindset immediately went back to like 2004, 2003. I'm thinking like evolution, right? So you got a figure like Triple H who, for a small period of time, actually was like a little mentor figure for Seth Rollins. He even started using the pedigree and all that. So I'm looking at this little faction like, okay, we've got someone who's really established, one of the best in the business, most likely a Hall of Famer down the road, in Seth Rollins. We have an actual Hall of Famer already in Paul Heyman, who fills in the Ric Flair role. We got Braun Breaker, who fills in the Batista role as the young guy with the muscle, the enforcer.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. It's still not making a whole lot of sense to me. Like I can get why Heyman would turn on Roman and CM Punk, just kind of saying like, I'm done with both of you guys. I'm
Yeah.
done with it. Like you guys have been pulling me every which direction. I'm sick of it. Just to spite you both, I'm gonna make it so that Seth Rollins wins. But teaming up with him after the fact, I agree. I don't. It's not making a whole lot of sense. Unless like they are trying to do another pseudo evolution, in which case we would need another member, and then that again, I still don't know where they're going with this. It's not like Seth has any difficulty getting into the main event spot, like ever. So
Exactly. So you mentioned the evolution. Sonny, you mentioned that you usually don't put a mouthpiece with somebody who has all the tools in his arsenal. Like, so it almost feels like, and this is a good segue for the topic, it almost feels like there needs to be another member, right? Because if you're just having Paul set up with Braun Breaker, like there's got to have been an easier way to do that, right? Because Braun Breaker, does he need a mouthpiece? No. Will he absolutely benefit from Paul Heyman speaking for him? 100%. 100%. So I would want to pose the question to you and to all the people out there watching. Let us know in the live chat, or if you're watching on demand, let us know in the comment section below what you think. Now, I think we've all kind of established that we do need another member. So instead of will they add another member, I'm just going to say, when do you think we will get this other member, and who might it be? Everybody's speculating who might it be. I know I mentioned last night on the review that I think that there might be even two more members added, one male and one female. I think that the obvious answer is Becky Lynch. She is now a heel. She's married to Seth Rollins. They don't have a lot of on-screen time together. So I think that would be a no-brainer. Now, as far as the guy, and if we're taking the evolution mold, I think the first name that comes to my mind is Austin Theory. Can't do that. He's stuck with Waller. You might have Grayson Waller then do that, but does he have all the tools in the ring? He's actually good enough on the mic. He doesn't need Heyman. So I'm thinking, well, what do we do with that? Where do we go? So I think maybe even an NXT call up. But everybody in NXT is so good on the mic too that it's tough. And Obafemi's great on the mic. Trick Williams is great on the mic. Ethan Page is great on the mic. Maybe Ricky Saints, perhaps. But all these guys are kind of up there in age. So if I was going to have to pick somebody, it would just be one person joining, and it would be Becky. But I really think that there's an opportunity. I mean, Carmelo Hayes would be my pick for sure. I still kind of want that to happen, but he's here with the Miz right now. So, and they're both heels. So I don't think one of them turning on the other would really move the needle as far as switching somebody's face. So I want to hear kind of what you guys think as far as when. And I know I didn't really address when it's going to happen. I think we're going to get it closer to the summertime, SummerSlam area. I think once Seth is in a match or Braun is in a match, I think that third person's going to come out and interfere, and that'll be revealed as the new part of the faction. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Tom. When do you think we're going to get somebody if we do, and who do you think that might be?
I would say as early as Backlash, no later than SummerSlam. It's got to
Okay.
have some crazy shock value, and I don't think they want to do that on Monday Night Raw or any other just regular show. Um, who would it be? I think the easy pick is Becky. But I don't personally think it's in her best interest to join the faction. First of all, I mean, everyone knows she's married to Seth. I mean, that's no secret, and she's a superstar in her own right. And
Mm.
with this whole new angle she's doing with Lyra Valkyria, I don't know if we want to detract from her going through her own solo storyline. I mean, she just came back. I'm sure she wants to get herself more established again. Um, I personally want to see her just keep doing her own thing, but again, she is the easier pick out of everyone. And if it's not her, it's got to be someone young. Otherwise, I don't think it'd make much sense at all saying like we are the future of the WWE. I mean, like Seth's already getting up there in age himself, so I would in my head canon I would say Austin Theory because
Okay.
they've butched this man in my opinion. I feel like he just like what he hasn't done much, uh, especially since like Vince leaving. Um, he was in the main scene at one point, talking talking to Roman and beefing with Cena a little while back, but now he's just kind of there and a little bit of a wasted talent. And he's not bad on the mic at all. I feel like the him and Braun would make a great combo duo. Again, my head is still thinking evolution, so I'm thinking like we need an enforcer and we need a guy that's like a trickster, someone that's like up to no good all the time. And I think Austin could fit that role. But if it's not in the books, if they're still going to continue that Waller storyline with him, I have no clue who the new guy could be because it seems like everyone's taken up at this point. Everyone's got something really good going on, or is already a part of another faction, which is why I personally don't want to see two people join. I feel like we're way too saturated with factions these days, and it makes it hard for screen time to kind of split the mic time, split the show time, the matches. So I'd rather them just take one and make it count, like make it someone that actually needs the push, legitimately needs the push.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, yeah, he beats John Cena at WrestleMania for with the US title on the line. He was involved in The Rock's, I think, first comeback or second comeback, where it was the 150 million hit man or whatever, view man. That was great. He had done some good things. And like you said, there's also a whole bunch of people that would be great fits for this new faction, but they're already involved in another faction or another duo, right? So that's a great point. I do think Austin Theory is archetypally the guy that would fit that Randy position. Now, I want to throw it over to Sonny. Sonny, what do you think?
I think the obvious choice right now is definitely Becky. It's she's comes back and she has this immediate heel turn and she's Seth's wife. It only makes sense to bring her in. And on top of that, now you can go for you have Seth with the World Heavyweight Championship, and then you can have Braun win the Intercontinental Championship back, and then you can have Becky with the Women's World Championship, which she's going after the Intercontinental Championship, which I just once again that Lyra Valkyria Becky Lynch, it's just not that that can't be a great match because I think that they would put on a banger of a match anyways. It's just so fast for the buildup to we she just turned on her on Monday and next week she's already saying I challenge you or she didn't even challenge her for the Intercontinental Championship belt. Lyra was like, I'll put this on the line to get you in the ring, sort of thing.
Another example of how odd Raw was. But yes, continue.
Yeah, it was just very, very weird. And then the thing that that turned like that got Becky to really, I guess explode was essentially she said, I'm a better person than you, and I'm gonna prove I'm a better wrestler. And Becky explodes. Becky two belts. Becky Grand Slam champion. Becky, member of the Four Horsewomen, member of the reason why the women's evolution has come to fruition. And it's almost like a John Cena, you can't wrestle sort of dig that really made her explode. Like I said, it's a lot of it. I think they're trying to throw a lot together. I think like they got dropped off after WrestleMania with not a lot of things going on. And this makes me wonder, it not to go completely off topic, but there has got to be a lot of tension backstage right now between TKO and WWE Creative. So I feel as if this is a lot of, hey, we need eyes on this product. We need star power. So let's put Becky Lynch back in. Let's get Heyman and Rollins and Braun Breaker all together. I just, when we go back to the way that Triple H books, it's that long term booking. He lays the groundworks for things so that when something finally does happen, like a 15-minute no microphone interaction at the end of Royal Rumble, that leads to one of the biggest pops that I've ever heard when Sami Zayn turned his back on Roman Reigns. Those are things that are like slow brew that you have to build over time. And I feel as if everything's just getting thrown together right now. As far as going back to who's going to be the next person that's added, I think Tom is exactly right. It's going to happen as early as Backlash because you can see they're putting a lot of emphasis on Backlash right now. They've already booked the Gunther Pat McAfee story for Backlash. They've already booked Lyra and Becky for Backlash. They've already booked Randy and Cena for Backlash. So they got a lot of things focusing for Backlash, but I don't feel as if they're really doing a lot for their each and every Monday night spots or in their Friday night spots. I think, yeah, it's so I think that Backlash is the beginning. SummerSlam probably at the latest we'll see a big turn. But I think what a great, and I know it's not going to happen, but this just thinking a little bit outside the box here. I think a faction. What about if they brought in a whole faction to be part of this visionary? Because I think that if you had Paul Heyman as a mouthpiece for somebody like Chad Gable's faction, and you brought them in almost like the henchmen. So you have Big Boss, you got Seth Rollins, and then you have his right hand man, Braun Breaker, and then you have his henchmen in what is it? What's the name of it? American Alpha? What are they going by these days?
American Made, I think now. Yeah.
American Made. Yeah, I think if you bring those guys in, I think that would be a really, really interesting concept. And then you could always have Chad Gable versus El Grande Americano at SummerSlam. That's what I would love to see.
Awesome. So we've got a bunch of different viewpoints on this. I love that. Great job. And that kind of allows for the segue into the final topic that I wanted to discuss. We're a little out of order, but that's fine. Is the Gunther versus Pat McAfee match. I've been saying for as long as I've been talking wrestling on the internet that Gunther needs to be the next Brock Lesnar. He needs to be Chop City. He needs to be choking people out. He needs to be not a coward. I mean, except for attacking somebody when his back is turned, but that's more heelish than cowardly. I think the biggest problem that he had recently was Undertaker suggesting that Gunther, as the champion, needs to act more cowardly. It's like bro was beating people to pulse. He was bloodying people's chests at PLEs, big, strong guys. And then it's like he needs to be more cowardly. And all of a sudden he kept taking L's, going 10, 15 minutes with Axiom, like L after L after L, playing, wrestling against people that he's right. They can't even lace his boots. So it's interesting. It's odd. And now he's going up against another person who, no offense to Pat McAfee, can't lace his boots in the ring. And I just don't see how you give Gunther another L. He should not be losing this match. Everybody's thinking that it's going to lead to a Goldberg retirement match at SummerSlam. So whether or not that's true, we don't know yet. But assuming that it's true, how would we go about booking this? Okay, for me, I will say that I would not have Gunther losing this match to Pat McAfee due to interference from Goldberg. I think that you can't have Gunther losing. I think you have Gunther win in a very decisive fashion, have Pat put up a little bit of a fight, show that he can take punishment and kind of keep kicking out. And then once he's defeated, have Gunther do his 1, 2, and then picks him up himself, right? Nah. It's not over. And then maybe even gets like not a disqualification, but like the ref calls the match, right? Or he gets a clean pin or a clean choke out on Pat and then just isn't stopping. Starts to ramp it up a notch, starts to get weapons involved, whatever. And then you hear Goldberg's music hit, after the match. So that way Gunther can have a win and then Goldberg can come out and spear Gunther, do whatever, and then that's how you set that up. Is that the best way to do it? No. I'm thinking probably, or maybe it is, who knows? But I'm thinking about how do you preserve Gunther's Chop City Brock Lesnar esque stature and get him involved with Gunther or with Goldberg and get Pat McAfee, hurt, but not so hurt that he can't come back to work that Monday. So now I'm going to throw it to you, Sonny. How would you book this Gunther Pat McAfee match as it's supposed to lead to Goldberg?
I think that I would book it literally exactly the way that you said it. Literally, just Gunther comes out and just wrecks Pat McAfee. McAfee gets a little bit of offense in, but mostly because Gunther's just not taking him seriously. So you got Gunther just smacking him around the beginning of the match, and then he's not taking it seriously, and then he makes a mistake. McAfee gets a couple shots in, and then Gunther snaps out of it and says, "No more," and just puts a hurt on McAfee to the point where I think that McAfee maybe gets a little color, starts to bleed. He puts him in that chokehold and just has him just bloody, just chokehold in the center of the ring. People are coming down, all of the backstage coming out, and they're trying to get Gunther off, and then just nobody can get Gunther off. Nobody, no 10 people, 15 people can't get Gunther off, and then all of a sudden you hear the music hit. You hear the drum roll. And then you see Goldberg standing at the head of the ramp, and he runs down to the ring, and then it's just chaos between those two going at it. And then since you have everyone in the ring already, now you're separating them like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar from years ago. Just separate them. They can't stay away from each other. They're just going off, and then that's essentially you have to separate them both that way. I really feel as if that's probably what we're going to see. And man, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think that'd be a great way to segue into the Goldberg thing. I think that'd actually be a great match. I think Goldberg obviously doesn't have the athleticism that he has in the past, but Gunther is such a phenomenal, literally ring general when he's in there. Absolutely phenomenal worker that I think that he could literally carry Goldberg throughout the whole match and make Goldberg look like he's 20 years younger and still sell a great match. I think Gunther has got to go over at SummerSlam over Goldberg, and maybe that's Goldberg's retirement match, and he goes out on his back like a lot of wrestlers do. But yeah, I think that you booked it spot on, Gino. I book it the exact same way.
Awesome. And like you said, Goldberg never really needed to rely on his athleticism to begin with. He more relied on his strength, and I think that he can hit a jackhammer, he can hit a spear, as long as he's strong enough to lift them up. I think he can do that really for probably another 5-10 years, right? Especially with his son. I think that I didn't mention it, but as I'm talking about it, it's coming to me. Maybe this is a way to get his son involved in the business. I don't know if he's looking forward to an NFL career or whatever, but let's just call it what it is. Eventually, Goldberg's son is going to be in the WWE, and he's going to be jackhammering people, and he's going to be spearing people. Now, I liked how you put, Gunther's going to need to be snapped out of it after Pat gets some moves in. That reminds me of, and stick with me, guys, it reminds me of the Pokemon anime with Charizard not listening to Ash until some bad things started happening to Charizard, and he realized, okay, I'm done messing around. Y'all getting wiped. And then it was like, maybe we would be better together than apart. So that's something that definitely came to my mind when you said that. Great job. Thomas, we've taken a lot of the scenarios kind of off the table. How do you feel about what might happen with this as if it's supposed to lead to Goldberg?
All right. So if Gunther is going to lose, which I don't think he will, I think he likely will win just because he's an icon at this point. He's just too good in the ring. You got to respect him, and they have to preserve him. But a way to make him lose while preserving his status would probably be, the simple thing with Goldberg interfering in some fashion. However, I'd want it to be a little bit more tasteful, not just the ref gets knocked down, Goldberg spear, that sort of thing. I'd want it to kind of build up a bit. I want to see Gunther start to lose his cool a bit because he's always so collected, but like diabolical almost, like a Vlad Tepes. Like I'm gonna ruin all of your lives and I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it, with the blood on his chest and all that. I think he's gonna be like working McAfee's brain quite a bit by trying to go after Cole, literally going up to the announcers table, maybe
Ooh.
threatening to attack him and all this and that. Maybe that's gonna throw Pat McAfee off, or maybe that's gonna give him the edge at the end of the day. But ultimately, if he has to lose, it's gonna have to be like a really quick. Here comes Goldberg, hops the barricade, gives him a really good spear on the sideline. I don't even want to see Goldberg enter the ring at that point. Um, and if, let's say, like McAfee is getting waxed the whole match, which I hope he does, he really should. He should just get the snot
Mhm.
beat out of him and kind of be the people's hero. Oh, let's see how much he can take. Oh wow, this guy's crazy. He keeps kicking out, kicking out, kicking out. He's got fight in him. And then all it takes is that one good shot from Goldberg out of nowhere. And I'd want to see Goldberg drag McAfee and just like um throw him on top of the guy, and then whatever, if the ref is coming back to his senses, 1 2 3, saw nothing, and then that way no one can debate like, okay, McAfee actually beat him, like McAfee was passed out when he beat him. I think that would be really cool. And that humiliation on the other side of it would be like leading up to the SummerSlam, where Goldberg would have to lose. I wouldn't want to see him go over Gunther. Gunther has to win at SummerSlam.
Mhm.
I agree.
Absolutely. He needs to get that, especially if he's losing to Pat McAfee and Jey Uso and almost losing to Axiom and losing to Cody Rhodes in Saudi Arabia and losing to, oh goodness, who did he lose? To Sami Zayn, almost the same way, getting distracted by trying to argue with Zayn's family at ringside, right?
Yeah.
So there's a history for Gunther getting distracted by his opponent's relationships outside the ring. So that could play right into it, right? Like we talked about, Triple H does love that long-term stuff, something that might feel like meaningless. Oh, he's doing it again. Gunther really needs to get his stuff together, and then finally, when he's fighting Goldberg, like he's got it all together. Great job with that. I'm really looking forward to this, regardless of what happens. I do think that this match is probably going to open the show. Uh, because you can't close the show. Usually something with a return like this would close the show, but you've got Cena and Orton in Orton's hometown. You could put Jey Uso versus Logan Paul on here and it's not closing the show. Not that it would compete with them even anywhere else either, but that's just the type of thing that I'm looking at. So I don't even know if they're going to put Jey versus Logan on this card. But so we've gone over what we thought about the Raw, the SmackDown. We've gone over our thoughts about the new whatever trifecta of people that they want to call themselves. We'll figure out, maybe they'll give themselves a name. We've gone over the Pat McAfee Gunther booking. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out, and we're definitely going to be talking about this moving forward. So I wanted to throw it around one more time. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
I got one.
Yes, Tom.
So I want to go off of something Sonny said. So he talked about he mentioned Triple H's booking, how it's like very slow and methodical, and it's really good story building. What if this is totally not going to happen, but what if instead of pulling someone new or someone who's going solo at the moment into Seth's faction, what if he pulls from another faction? Not like an entire faction like you said, but what if it's like Finn, for example?
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's
What
so crazy.
like wild
Wow.
thought, because Finn is all but about to leave Judgment Day. I mean, like it's pretty obvious he's getting a little annoyed and fed up that he's not in the main event scene. What does the guy need? Because he was the first ever Universal champ and he hasn't been back there since. Heyman.
I love that.
Dang.
I
I
do love
Maybe
that.
that's how
love
we get
that.
the true demon Finn back, and then
Oh
he's the one that blows it
man.
all up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then you can get him and Seth to run it back one last time. Oh man, that's a great thought. And Finn needs it too. He definitely does as far as his star power. He needs that that person that's next to him to get him to that next level. I think Finn Balor is one of probably, for somebody who spends most of his time listening to, the 3 count on his back, every time he's in the ring, he always seems like he's somebody who is just this close away from winning the match, winning the championship. I think that's why he works so well in the with the
Judgment
fatal
Day?
four way. Yeah, the
Oh,
fatal
okay.
four way is the fact that literally everybody in there, including Finn, who has not had a significant win in forever, you still thought this could be the night that Finn wins just because of his work rate. But I
Yeah,
agree, man. If you put him with Heyman, you put him in that faction, man, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
absolutely. And you could argue he needs to be in a faction just to get him on TV, right? Like you said, he hasn't really had a lot of opportunities. He's always in those backstage segments with the Judgment Day, and that's really been keeping him on television. And as we heard going into the new year, he's a locker room leader. Now he's somebody that people are relying on. He's taking over that like upper echelon. This is the person you can rely on. This is the person you can go to for help. Obviously, he's a heel in kayfabe, but in reality, he's doing great for the locker room, and that's something that you know the politics or however you want to put it backstage is definitely going to work for him. So, guys, with that being said, from Tom to Sonny to myself, this has been Major Push Wrestling episode or re-episode number 2. I look forward to seeing you guys all on the next one. And as always, bye bye.